Paul Knight, brother. Welcome back to the show. How's it going? You were just on like, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks ago, but hey, we're making this a regular deal. How's it going, brother?
It's going good. What it is, guys, he went through his book, he had no one, and he thought of me. I'm only
That
joking.
not true at all. Not true at all.
No, we have to have a laugh, do me and Ryder, and it's an honor to be back on. And hello to anyone who doesn't know who I am. I'll try and not get as excited as last time and slow down a little bit.
No, we actually have our own show together called the 11th Hour. We haven't done one in a little bit because I've been super busy, been doing a lot of stuff and getting ready to go on a trip to Contact in the Desert. So whoever is going to be at Contact in the Desert, come say hi. It's going to be a really big conference. So yeah, I just wanted to bring Paul on because he just released a new video called Something in the Water. And this is a very fascinating video. We've been talking back and forth about this for since he started making it. And it's I think it's kind of pertinent to extraterrestrials and what I'm going to be doing at Contact in the Desert. So Paul, give us your explanation, well, your etymology of extraterrestrial. And that is where we're going to start because this is very fascinating.
Well, the end. No, I'm only joking. Everyone talks about it for so long. We saw it in the community, any community that we're in. We've seen what people label as extraterrestrials, what they are, who they are, where they're from, where they're not from. And I'm cool on my channel. If you believe in ETs, if you don't believe in ETs, if you believe if you believe it's re-engineered, you believe it's government, ancient civilizations with advanced tech, I'm cool with, because it's all labels in the end of the day, and it's how we perceive and how we've been brought up is what influences me. I mean, I'm a really big sci-fi geek, but from my research, I believe that ETs are advanced cultures, or they're from from more land, which a lot of people have talked about. And so I was seeing it regurgitated again and again, not in a bad way, but people saying what extraterrestrial means. Extraterrestrial mean terra, meaning earth, meaning extra land. And I have a series on my channel where it's called Spell Etymology, looking at words, obviously etymology of words, where the origins are, but from my own perspective and broken down differently than what society accepts what etymology is. You'll see it, and the results of what I do is, it seems to me, far more fascinating, because remember, these are spells and things can be hidden in spells, whether intentionally or not. Sometimes we give away things, what I mean? People can see when you're lying, or when we've done that in life, what I mean? But sometimes we intentionally do things without, subconsciously, without us knowing it. And that's why I like to look at the words differently, to see if I can find things that stand out to me. And 9 times out of 10, even 10 out of 10, I always find something that's wow, and something that is pertinent to what the topic is. And it's just a fascinating. So I looked at extraterrestrial. I did a video on it. I can't remember, about 4 weeks ago, maybe 5 weeks ago, something. It's not too far away. And when I broke it down, I found out that it was talking about yes, more land, but it could be more land under the sea. It talks about how the land was dry and then was covered. I mean, a lot of cultures talk about great floods. I mean, not just the main civilizations. You're talking worldwide, that they talk about a great flood. Whether it's a lie or not, I don't know, because we wasn't in that period, was we? So when I'm looking at it and finding, it could be more land under the oceans. Remember, we supposedly started with Pangaea. Could these cultures just have been covered, by the water, like say they say Atlantis, or was there something else? Is this beyond the ice wall? Are these just underwater people? Because think about it, we all automatically think of creation, that if you believe in a god, you don't believe in a god, you believe in advanced people who made us, so on. There's so many things that we can talk about. But one thing we have to think on is, are we so-called, what's the word, that big-headed to think we are the only, humanoid figures? If we were genetically made, how would you get it right the first time? If you believe in that, like the Sumerian, Anunnaki, they were made. Ancient civilizations talk about us being made from clay, Egypt, Greece, and things like that. So, are we the only humanoid? If you believe in the Bible, it talks about the Leviathan. Could that be an amphibian type of thing? So this all ties in with under the water, and we see it being thrown in our faces in movies, films, TV series about people living under the water. And that's just where that was the start of me thinking about more water, because I've done a lot of videos on water in the sense of memories being stored in there, and this was just an extra thing, finding this, and that got me like the juices flowing. And then it led to the latest video that I did about something in the water.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because Jesus, the most iconic symbol other than Jesus being on a cross, which I have no idea why people think that Jesus loves crosses. You'd think that he would hate that. Why would you worship him with a cross? But the other most iconic thing is the Jesus fish, right? Implying that it's, he may be the god of the sea. I don't know. And then that relates to the age of Aquarius and all these gods being water bearers, Inky, the water bearer, delivering water to people. And in your case, it could be, a god bringing knowledge, right? Because if the water is memory, then memory would be knowledge. And if they're water bearers, then they would be bringing knowledge to the people, right? From other parts of this realm, right? Other land, and that would be what would classify them as extraterrestrial. We were talking about this back and forth a couple of weeks ago, and I'm like, I think that extraterrestrials have been misidentified. They're not really people or beings from off the planet. They're beings from the planet. And way back in ancient times, because I'm guessing that we would be kind of segregated on the planet, right? Like you would be here, other people would be over here. There would be no communication between them. And then if one of these people that was just a tad more advanced came and visited other people from a different part of the planet, other land, they would be like, what's going on? Who is this person? Oh my gosh, it's people not from here, which they're correct. They're not from the area where they are. They're from a different part of land somewhere else in the realm. And it's been misconstrued and misinterpreted throughout history. And we've had all of these things made, and this just created a lore within itself and making it about people from off the planet when it's actually about other beings on the planet, and more than likely, like you're describing, from underwater or underground. I mean, we have the Hopi ant people, that came up to the surface from underground to save humanity whenever there was a giant flood happening. So all this is really related, and I think it's highly possible that people just didn't know that other people on the planet existed. And the reason that we think that they're from off the planet is because we can't wrap our head or our mind around nowadays, with all the technology and all the surveillance stuff that we have, that we could possibly have people on the planet that we don't know about. So we automatically assume that they're from outer space or from another planet. I don't know. That's just my thoughts on it.
Well, you think about it. Well, like I said, I'm a sci-fi geek. I saw 2 UFOs. And obviously, people, as soon as, like I said in the new video, as soon as you see UFO, you're automatically attuned to think little green, little grey, flying around in saucers. That's just what it is. We can't get away from that. And the reason I did this video is because all these ancient cultures talk about sages, gods coming from the ocean, and it's not just like one. If it was just one, it can be an anomaly, but there is a lot. And like you were saying before, when we're talking about this, it's just intriguing because it to me, it looks like a plant, you know, because we're talking about his story all the time, that if you wanted to control people and you would put them on land, and obviously we'll get into this a little bit more about etymology and links to the sheep, but you put them on land, you make the water salt water in a sense that they cannot be drank, you know what I mean? Then thus you're making people landlocked, staying, you know, land, not mean landlocked in the sense of maps, but, you know, onto land. And history always will say, oh, well, no, we didn't travel this and we didn't travel that. And we know from your research and other people that, like, the seas were the highways, but maps, you know, I've always said maps are spam because it spelt it backwards. So when we see islands appearing on maps, disappearing, reappearing, appearing, reappearing, they've been validated and they're just poof. It just makes you think, you know, there's an island gone poof. Now, did these sailors, were they dehydrated? And we'll talk about things like that, you know, to influence the decision. This land is so mysterious. When you just think you have it straightforward, it gives you a kick up the ass to just show you, you know what I mean, that you just know nothing. And when I'm doing this video all about water, and I know about ancient civilizations, and for you about Aquarius, and tied to, all this is tied to Janus, who goes by a name of Oans, also Enki, Dagon, and he's an entity that comes out of the ocean, known as the wisdom bearer. And I've been talking about how water has memory, and we just think of like memory as, you know, like a memory stick full of films and things and stuff, or thoughts, books, and you just been given it and advancing your culture decades, 100 years, etc. And in one particular myth, it talks about how 7 sages came out. When I was brought up, I was always talked about the 7 seas. So I was just thinking, did these 7 sages come out of the oceans at 7 locations to advance a particular race? I mean, we've seen it in films like, I don't know if you've watched, what's it called? John Carter of Mars.
Yes, good film.
And you've got an advanced race acting like gods, controlling history, controlling people, manipulating. Who's to say that's not what's going on? Nothing. That's why I always say treat it as information, because I know nothing. And it doesn't matter if you find a book, it says it's 500 years old, saying otherwise or agree, it's a book. It's still indoctrination, like TVs, like phones, because anything where man is it can, you know, man's involved, it can be classed as, you know, I mean, misinformation, chilled, and that's not a modern thing. And they've always controlled history, so it's easily done. You want to control a certain narrative, you'll get a book written and you'll hand it out. Oh, but don't mention that book because you get taken down. What do people automatically think? Oh, that book must be the truth because you get taken down. But you got, you know, or is it us thinking too much into it? Because that's what they do. So if you're into intelligence, that's the easiest, quickest thing to get passed through in the community is the truth. And how many times do we see it? Images appearing, it's AI art, or it's been manipulated. You know, my stuff's been used for that against what I'm saying. So things are not always what they seem. So we're talking about water and what's in the water. Why are they not investigating the waters? when you can say like over 70%, 80, whatever you want to get at, it's not been mapped or searched. Why have you not got the tech? You've proven you so-called got the tech when you went down the Mariana Trench. Is that not even the deepest? Is there other deeper ones? But why? And that's what gets me thinking, and why I was thinking about this video when and then I got an image of a friend who said, have a look at this, Paul. And it was like 3 UFOs in Genoa, a particular interest of mine. And it talks about people coming out with these machines and fixing them, blah, 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 like an advanced submarine type of thing. So, and this was in 1608. So these things just make you go, when you put it all together. That's just what I was thinking, you know.
What if the water and the atmosphere, the waters below, the waters above, is some kind of natural AI system, right? What if we live in just like a natural thing that's like encoding everything and collecting all this information and collecting all this data on us? But then we're trying to duplicate that in a artificial way, right? Because I think that human beings inevitably try and like duplicate nature. It almost seems like we live in a kind of natural intelligence, I guess you could call it. It would be NI, natural intelligence. And then we are trying to create an artificial intelligence to overrule that natural intelligence and mold it and shape it and bend it to our benefit, because it's very difficult to control nature. You can't really control nature. Nature is its own intelligence, right? So if we can create something like a artificial intelligence to overrule that natural aspect of our lives, then whoever was in control of that artificial intelligence would inevitably control everything, right? And then you've said many times that Janus, his original name was IA, which is AI. He could be a natural intelligence over this realm.
Yeah, you have to think about it that way, because we're talking about nature. Well, nature, like a lot of things, has reoccurring numbers, patterns. So it looks like it's been, like you just said, created like artificially, naturally, in essence. You know what I mean? It's like a predictable chaos. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. But when we're talking about anything that's been a secret, and I have to give shout out to DCAT, a member of my channel. He was talking about secret. Now, if you split it up and changed and just add an A, it's a C, secret. And when we're talking about water, in charge of the so-called church and religion on this realm is the Vatican, also known as the Holy See. More links to water, you know what I mean? So, and computers, the decent computers these days are water cooled, aren't they? So, and then you have all the storage of, like I said, I've done many videos on water holding memory, atmosphere holding memory, and a lot of people believe this. So it just gets you to think. Like I was taken back about it when you just stand back from even what you're actually thinking about, because I don't have many things where I'm going, yes, I believe in this 100%, because I want to be hypocritical in the sense of the next piece of information can then change the flow, a bit like a river. You don't get many rivers going straight. You know what I mean? They go through the path of least resistance. Like a wave, like a frequency, again, both connected to water. And it just gets me thinking, when we're like this, we're theorizing, are these our thoughts? Are we just sinking to information in the sky? Because think about it, you can't keep everything in your head, and we walk through doors and we forget things because it seems to cut our connection, you know. And that's why I did the video on the doorway effect. And that's even been scientifically proven now. You walk through the door and you forget what you was going through. I mean, how many people have not been on my channel and are listening today or tomorrow, whenever it is? Have you had that effect happen to you? That you've gone into what, you know, oh, I'm just going to go to the fridge, get a drink or something, and you've gone in, out the room, through a door, you've gone into the room where your fridge is, and you're like, what did I come in here for? You've walked through the doorway. The powerful things. It's why they have gods from threshold gods, liminal gods. It's why, you know, police need warrants, which is tied to water, but it's not for your benefit in the sense of it's for the gods' benefit. They're asking permission to break the threshold. You know, you get married, you carry your bride over the threshold. So all these ties to the door. I mean, even in a door, knowledge, know is gnosis, you know, knowledge, and the ledge is part of the door. That's in its 100% etymology. It's not me just making it up. So even the door is knowledge. So we have to pass through doors, and is that cutting our connection? So this is why I've been on not a water trip as such, but it seems to be a hell of an influence, because I believe that's the next big thing is water and what you know, find in it. And this video that I've just made was like a combination of a lot of things of what is just in the water. You know, is it people who, you know, what people believe as aliens living in the water? Is it advanced races? Have they always been? I know you talk about the ant people coming, you know, from the Hopi coming out the holes in the ground. I mean, like you talk about Jules Verne and the journey to the center of the earth, different things like that, where they go into these places, you know, through ground. I mean, hope that them ant people, etymology of ant means giant. So we're talking of giant men. I've got an image that a friend gave me a long time ago of, because people talk about Egypt being in the Grand Canyon, you know, in roughly the Hopi region, and got a hieroglyphs of an Egyptian men with ant antennas coming out of the head. And that always got to me, you know, is there a connection there of advanced races hiding, you know, under the oceans, deep in the ground? You know, maybe they've moved out now because it seems like the Elites, which means followers of El, have used dumbs as their own way of staying clear. You know what I mean?
Well, then you also have like maritime law,
Yeah.
right? Which, you know, maritime law regulates shipping, navigation, commerce, towage, recreational boating, privacy, and, you know, entities on domestic and international waters. Like that's what
Yeah.
the whole world runs on, is maritime law. And there's a something that I wanted to mention about the doorway effect too, and I think this is another level of the kind of doorway effect, and I think it's directly impacting people individually. Like whenever you have like a thought or an idea, right? I know that you've had a lot of thoughts and a lot of ideas. So have I, and a lot of people that's been watching this have had a lot of thoughts and a lot of ideas. But have you ever had a thought and an idea, Paul, and then you didn't act on that thought or that idea, and then later on you see somebody else that did do that thought and did act on that thought and that idea, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
What just happened there? You know, I thought that was original to me, you know, and I didn't act on it, so therefore somebody else did it. It kind of implies this infinite data field of information that's all around us, and certain people have access to it. That's why I think whenever you have a thought or an idea, you should just automatically just do it, right? Because if you don't do it, other people have access to that information as well, and they are going to do it. And I think that that's kind of similar to the doorway effect, because when you walk through a doorway, you forget what you were doing, or you forget the thought or whatever. But this one is remembering the thought and then not acting on it, and then seeing somebody else doing it, and then you think, oh, they just stole my idea. How did they get that information? I didn't talk to them about this. You know, I think it's a perpetual thing that's all around us, and a lot of people have access to, and some people get access to it earlier
Yeah.
than others.
And it's just the speed of the thought, yeah, and that's what I've talked about in all these videos in regard to atmospheric memory, the connection, toroidal field. I believe the toroidal field's got a lot to do with it because it amplifies the signal that you're talking about, getting it faster than someone else. It's like you know, having a thought and you've got like 1 gig, 2 gig internet speed, or whatever you want to call it, and the chap at the side of you or the lady at the side of you has got dial-up like the olden days, and you're downloading the song. Well, you're singing the song, they're still downloading, and then they could think, God, this guy's weird. What is he talking about? What's he singing about? You know, because you know they don't know that you've downloaded the song, the same song, and that's like life. Source, creation, whoever you believe is the giver of knowledge is give you the information quicker. Now, could it be the fact that it's how, you know, I don't like using the word truther in the sense of, but, you know, in the truth community, knowledge community, whatever you want to call it, you've got pathways, bridgeways, that your connections are slightly quicker because you do it a lot. You know, practice. It's why they say muscle memory. You know, you're doing it faster. Sometimes you're not doing it. You don't realize you're doing it. I've already mentioned things like that. So we're talking about maritime law, you was, and that is one of the things that Janus taught humans, how to build walls around cities, laws, how to live in the laws. And he's known as the first ship builder. Why are people not researching it? You know, I mean, it's like they don't believe what I'm saying. And I've been saying this for years. And more are coming to now. But we're in this community where people talk about, oh, the pineal, the third gateway, you know, and all this stuff. Well, why have they named the occult name for the pineal Janus? You know, oh, well, maritime law, Noahide law. Well, Janus taught humans law. His other name is Noah. Oh, you're making that shit up. Well, here's a 300, 400-year-old book stating his name is Noah Janus. Why is that not talked about it more? And it's not like me being the beginner. It's just the fact that people have made great strides, you know, figuring stuff out. And, you know, you've just got something that they've not seen before. And it's so weird that, you know, I started to look at this topic. I mean, we've all known about Janus in a sense. And even big YouTubers have said, oh, he's insignificant. They've just Googled it. You know, who is Janus? Oh, he's an insignificant god. He's highly significant. He holds the keys. He's to so many gods. You know, because you think about a janitor, you know, for your school, that's named after him. And Janus has the keys to all doors. And it's just, you know, and he is Aquarius. You know what I mean? And his number is 11, and that's what ties into a lot of stuff. And we're talking, why do people not want to? It's like, honestly, I can go into a room or in a group, mention Janus, and get kicked out. Really, you know what I mean? It's hated by a lot of these people who mocked me for a long time, and people are asking for it now. You know what I mean? They're asking them to research this, and what about Janus? And you know what I mean? It's a topic that opens a lot of doors. You know, the rabbit hole is actually Janus itself, not just me making it up. And he's tied to water also. You know what I mean? Because one of his names, the oldest name is Ia, which is Ea, Enki. But I believe Enki and Enlil are the same entity. It's just different aspects of the face, you know, personas where mask comes from. It's just a fascinating, deep topic. And like I said, you begin to talk to me when you started seeing it, and then you start looking into it more, and it makes more sense. You know what I mean? When you add things and you see things, the biggest gatekeeper, which is a name of Janus, is Bill Gates. He's actually named after Janus. Why is that not looked into? It's
Do you
just,
think Janus was the first shipbuilder?
he is the
Because
first shipbuilder.
so he would
That's one of his titles, and it's appeared on like ancient coins. You know, he's known as the first shipbuilder, like nowadays. And I know there has been a lot of Noahs, but you know, when you're putting a path together, and you know, all things align. You know what I mean? So you got Noah, also called Janus, being the first shipbuilder, the ark. Janus is a god of arches and arcs. You know, you got people that used to be in power in olden days called archons, all named after him. He is known through multiple phases of being able to look for the past, the beginning, you know, and the future. He's also known as the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. He's the first pope, and this is not just me theorizing and summarizing. Oh, Janus is the first. This is all books stating it. I've showed it in the videos. So when people are talking about the Vatican and the Holy See and all this, I'm like, guys, it's Janus. Here's the evidence, and it's like crickets. It's like, oh, Paul's talking about Janus again. But it's a significant part. It's ties like everything that you're talking in the community to one. It's like, you know, you having the skeleton key for a door and not using it because you don't want to, because it's a color. You know what I mean? It's just so mad. And when you're talking about water memory, and it being in the olden terms, it was called mem, which what got me started thinking about water memory, because the old Phoenician, Egyptian, Hebrew word for water was mem, and it's like a frequency, a wave, and it's like the Aquarius symbol too. You know what I mean? The water bearer, as you can call it, but you know, it's memories. Where are all the memories stored? A youth got everything in your head, but why does the doorway effect? If you got it in your head, you shouldn't be able to disconnect. You know, we connected, all of us, to people call it source, people call it the catch it record or case it, whatever you want to call it. God, the creator. You know, you can call it anything you want, but all your memories are not in your head constantly. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, you seem to have to like to download them, or you know, and you. It's just a fascinating topic when you just look at it a little bit different. And Janus is associated, to me, is a linchpin. It's a key. People go about, oh, Baphomet, Baphomet, Baphomet. It's Janus. That's just another name. And the Baphomet they're using with the horns is a modern representation by Elias Levi in early 19th century or something like that. He drew it up, you know, for the you know, for certain satanic organizations. The Baphomet that the Knights Templar worship had 3 heads. Who's that? It's like,
is there any connections that you found, Paul, between Janus and Adam? Because it's pretty much stated in Genesis, if you read it, that Adam was androgynous, and all of God's angels were androgynous as well. And Janus is an androgynous god. He's got 2 heads and sometimes 3 heads. He's
yeah,
androgynous,
and
right?
both male and female genitalia. I'm not a fan of that link in the sense of naming. Obviously, Adam means from red, you know, red clay, red earth. But in different religions, you have, and different cultures, you do have the sense of Janus's creation. You know what I mean? Janus is labeled being the creation. He's creation. His other name is conceivus, which means, you know, when the art of conceiving. That's another name. And both female genitalia are known as doorways. You know what I mean? The womb, the matrix, and like I said, I've not come across an actual text of Adam is Janus, but the sense of Adam has been made by Janus, in the sense of like you've got Zeus, where humans had 2 heads, and all the arms, and he got fed up with it, and that's according to the myth, and split people in half. You know what I mean? So there's that aspect, you know, Zeus aspect, which is it's another name for Janus. And people say, well, you can't have all these names. You making this. It's not me making it up. These are people, ancient books, and it's like, oh, well, they got them wrong. And then he said, well, why have they got them wrong? Because this book tells me so. And I'm like, you can't. And that's why I say to people, you can't diss a book and use another book against it, because it defeats its very object. They're both written by people with certain perspectives and alignments and agendas. So you have to treat it as just information. There's no point you know, it's like you finding a pornographic book in the ground, and 1,000 years later and it's still there, and you know, oh, hail titties, you know what I mean? It's just crazy. You can't use information against information, because it's just information. Who says what's right? Who's the judge? You know, oh, well, this book was written in 1522, and it says, oh, well, okay. What about this book I found in 1512? Oh, you know what I mean? So it's a never ending. So you just have to treat it as information and use it as a, you know, a guide of sorts, because we just don't know. You know, they don't get. I mean, you can't even trust them. You know, it's not a good example. You know, like, is it Snoops or whatever it is called, or Snow? I don't even want to, because we don't really have it over here in the sense of, you know, fact checkers. There's no fact checkers, and even fact checkers have agendas that are employed by the people who's supposed to, you know what I mean? So you can just see how corrupt history is. Or is history just a part of the play? The world is a stage. It says stage, anagram stage. You get gates. Who's the god of gates and doorways? Oh, right. So you can just see how funny this gets when people talk about, oh, the world is a stage. I've done a video, spell etymology, on actors, and it talks about how they're agents. You know what I mean? So if you've got a script, it's just a different script. You know, you can change a script, you know, instantly, and that's just what history is. It's just pieces of a book being written, and we, you know, you were there to choose which you believe, and that's what a lot of history is. Where did you get these facts? Oh, well, I've got this from that book because the majority have said so. Well, mob rule doesn't mean it's correct. It's like law now. Laws are supposed to be laws, but it doesn't mean the law's right. As you know what I mean?
Well, think about it. If you wrote a book on a certain subject, let's say that you were writing a book on extraterrestrials, right? Or space or whatever. Your book would be different than my book if I wrote the same book, because I have a different perception. I have a different outlook
exactly. You have
on the topic than you do, right? So it's inevitably going to be different. So how do we think that one person's version of history is correct? I mean, how many people were in this realm whenever that stuff was written? You're only getting one person's version of events, and his perception could be right. His perception could be wrong. His perception could be completely different than what everyone else's perception was, and it could be correct. There's not just one consensus to everything. I mean, we're individuals here having an experience, and we're going to have different experiences according to, you know, what we've been through and what we've done.
Yep.
Right? Like, you're in the UK, I'm in the United States. I'm going to have a different outlook on almost everything. Really, when it comes to like worldly events, right? Because you receive different information, I receive different information. You know, people down the street can get different information than the information that I have. That doesn't mean that I'm right. Doesn't mean that they're wrong, but it doesn't mean that they're right.
Yeah,
and that's what
I've always said, isn't it? No one's right, no one's wrong. It's just information, and your perception and perspective of that information. And I get called out on that. People, what it is it's like we said, mob rule. Whoever's got the highest subs seems to be deemed correct. It's not the fact. You know what I mean? There's people with less subs than us and making brilliant content. Doesn't mean they're right or wrong. It just means they're making brilliant content. They're using the platform to get their information out. It's a manifesto. Again, it's like tied to water. You know, you're getting your thoughts and ideas out. I use my channel as a way of, you know, I make a video. I see. I do it uniquely where I go into a video and I have a baseline knowledge, a sense of what I want to roughly do on the topic, but I don't restrict myself to stay in that topic. I go where the information flows. Again, water. So if I'm looking into, for instance, Stonehenge, and people are telling me it was only built in 1958, well, what happens if I find pictures of it in 1901 being restored? Do I call that out as well, because everyone says it's 1958, or do we use my common sense? I think, well, no, it's got to be at least 1901 because I've got photographic evidence. And people say, oh no, they're altered and doctored, you know, doctored. Well, what if the 1958 ones are doctored? Oh no, it's not. Because why is it not? Because that's what you believe. And this is what's happening with the community. We're getting mob rule, telling people and coercing people into believing what they want you to believe. You know what I mean? I used to live there. Do you know what I mean? And I've always, that's why I made the video. And it's a sense of, it's weird, some of the stuff that goes on around there, in the sense of it's been altered and people show you pictures of cement being used. Yeah, they have. I've got pictures of them actually using the cement to shore it up. Now, did stones get removed? Yes. Have they been replaced? Yes. Is the shenanigans going on by the Lites? Yes. But it's a stone circle. There's hundreds, thousands around this country full of stone circles. So why are we honing on that? You know what I mean? It's just so weird. I mean, you can't slam, oh well, that's false information because mine's right. I mean, how many times I've seen people saying, oh, Stonehenge built in 58, the world is a lie, they've lied to us, history is a lie. Well, okay, history is a lie, because anything that doesn't go against what you believe could be hence a lie. But if you've got a photograph there, a black and white one, showing it's 58, you're seeing a restoration. I've got similar photos from 50, 60 years earlier, restoring it too. What do we do there? Do I get triggered and go around calling everyone to say 58? No, because people can believe whatever they want to believe in. But I don't stop myself from going into a topic just because mob rules say you can't believe in that because we believe this. And this is what's happening in the community. We're gatekeeping for the Lites. You know, we're acting like the sheeple. You know, I don't like using that word, but sheeple. We call people, you know, a derogative term for anyone that's normal. Sheeple means sheep of God, sheep L. Now, in my new video, I did etymology of water, and I found that anagrammed that water and got Ewart, and that talks that Ewart is a sheep herder. So these gods from the water are sheep herders. And these Apakalu, which is one of the names used for these wise men that came out of the ocean, were to get the sheep to do what they wanted to do. We was misbehaving, or we wasn't getting our jobs right, you know, to provide sacrifices for them. You know what I mean? So if we stop, and that's why I promote my channel. If a big channel say this, if all the community says this, so what? Look into it. Formulate your own pathway. That way you can make your own mind up. You might come to the same conclusion as what people are saying, but 9 times out of 10, I've found more information better, and everything connects better when I do it my own way. And that's not being big-headed. You know what I mean? Because we have to use a platform. I use a platform of, that's what people say. And I don't go, well, I'm going to go to prove them wrong. When I found it, I don't. Because it's a personal journey for me. And I found an alternate meaning. I mean, who anagrams water and to find something tied to sheep? It's fascinating, the journey that we're on. Don't you think? You know what I mean? And to find that, I mean, people talk about, oh, you have to keep hydrated. It contains hydra, a serpent, you know, with multiple heads. And people are talking in the community about, oh, in the jib jabs, the hydra was in it. So you've got so many connections here. It just makes you go, wow, really? You know what I mean?
Yeah, the community has become its own type of religion where belief has overruled truth
Mm.
and facts. I mean, that's what I have seen, right? People
Yeah,
just want to believe in stuff so bad that they're willing to throw out common sense and critical thinking, and that revolves around all of the topics, right? They're so locked in because they think that they know so hard that whenever any new information pops up that contradicts that belief, then it gets them upset, it gets them triggered, and that's not the way that it should be at all. Like, we're in a community that's trying to discover things that normal people don't know about, right? And a lot of times the truth is a lot stranger
yeah,
than what they
yeah,
actually
very
think is going on. So you got like all these people thinking that, you know, extraterrestrials are like real physical beings coming from off the planet. Well, why would they be telling you the truth about that, right? Like, why is that true? You know, we have zero proof and zero evidence that extraterrestrials even exist. And so why are we taking, it's like a herd mentality is what it is. And the people want to believe that extraterrestrials exist and they're visiting us from off the planet, that they're willing to not look at any other possibilities. Like, one, you know, are they coming from our planet, right? Are they coming from this realm? Have they been here? Have they been in this realm for ever? And people have just mistaken them as being from off the planet, right? And then two, do are we the only human beings, well, the only physical beings, you know, on the planet, right?
mm.
Don't get mad at me, people, for using the word planet, okay? It's just the only thing that I can think of, you know, planet, realm, whatever you want to call it. It's just a descriptive term for, you know, what I'm using for what we're living on, right? Um, so when you and people get really upset about that. They're like,
Yeah,
oh, we can't be the only physical beings in the universe. Well, show me that we aren't.
yeah. That
Show me,
aggressive
show me,
nature comes
show,
through.
show me that we aren't the only physical beings in the universe. You can't, you know. So it's like it's a paradox here. We're in a really weird situation, and then people want to always relate people that believe that we are the only physical beings in the universe as like some kind of Christian value or some kind of religious value, that you're talking about Christianity, when I'm not. I'm just using common sense and critical thinking here. Whenever someone, you know, proves and makes a statement or shows some sort of evidence that we aren't the only physical beings in the universe, then I'll change my mind. But you know, until then, it really seems like if the planet is as old as people say that it is, right? Billions of years old, or however, even millions of years, it doesn't really matter. Then you would think that people would be everywhere, right? You would think that we would see beings everywhere. You'd think we'd be able to whip out a telescope and look at another planet and see people walking around on another planet, but yet we don't. How many amateur astronomers do we have in the world? We have a lot. I mean, we have telescopes that can see billions of miles away, but we haven't seen any evidence of any other life out there. Of course, we got, you know, NASA and everyone saying, oh, there's water on other planets and they're considering that life, or some kind of fungus or some kind of bacteria, and they classify that is life. Now I'm classifying life as a physical 3D being like you and me. We have not seen that. So the only conclusion that you can really come to based off of the evidence and the proof is that we're probably the only physical beings, at least in this part of the galaxy or this part of the universe.
Think about it, Ryder, that everything is information. I mean, I obviously I'm dyslexic, so I find it hard to read books. I'm trying to get myself better to reading. So all these videos I make up just from here, talking to people like you, other friends, and seeing what I can. So I don't use, you see people making videos from just reading books out. I find that very hard. And then you're just reading out a book and then coming up to your own conclusion. It's not me. I make all my content through, myself. And think about it. You're in a library and you are told to formulate your perspective on the realm you live in, but you're only allowed to use that corner of the library. But there's hidden sections over there with even more knowledge and more history and more advanced tech, but you're not allowed to go over there. So how can you formulate it? You can't. So the information we have, people have formulated what this realm looks like. And then you'll get people like us and other people watching theorizing what books are over there and getting hints. Oh, so the librarians left the book out and you can see a little corner of this, you know what I mean? So that's how you formulate this realm in basic terms. To me, it's all the information is provided, but that information might not be correct. You know what I mean? Again, his story is a lie. So this is what we have to work with, and that's why I try not to get triggered. I mean, you're in a community, any community, and you're calling the people that you class as normals. Oh, why did he ridicule us so much? Why did he hate us so much? We're only trying to show him, blah, blah, blah. And then you've got people in your community coming in and, well, I believe this. Oh, and then you get ridiculed. And you're like, you're just complaining and being ridiculed, but yet you ridiculing people in the ridicule community. And that's what's happened. That's how I got created and how I wanted to make content in the first place. I was ridiculed by the ridiculees. And I'm like, why are you ridiculing me? Why are you saying I'm this and this and this? Because I'm saying something different. I'm using my own theory on what could things be, and they don't like it. And that's what we have to get away with. We have to just sit around like a campfire talking and not, because you probably couldn't have that now because you have so many communities gelling. In gelling in the sense that way, and it's not a smooth process. It's you could agree with something for 99%, and some say, oh well, what do you think about them Hollywood being all trans, and you saying, I remember this saying it, and someone fell out at me and said, oh, Hollywood being trans, Paul, and I said, well, yeah, possibly, and I mean possibly mean that some are, but not 100%. That is just me common sense. That 100% cannot be that. If you know what I mean, that's just my personal opinion. There is ones that a lot are trans, but not 100%. And people are following on with you. Oh, you're a shill, you, because you're not saying it's not. I mean, this trans movement is from Janus. He's the god of transitions. He was also a Hermaphrodite and blah blah blah. And it's all tied to Janus, and people don't want to know that neither. You're screaming but I know it's your perspective at the end of the day, but most of it's not. It's like books, and for instance, if someone says, "Oh well, the pyramid it has 4 sides," and you show them, "Well, no, the pyramid had 8 sides. The middle is is concave in the middle. The pyramid has actually 8 sides." You know what I mean? So we learn new shit every day, and we only learn new shit if you talk to people and get a different perspective. And a lot of people have open minds, not as many as I wished, because that's the key, being open-minded in the sense of, you know, the ability to accept a different opinion, you know, and not go into fisticuffs and fighting, because that's what happens. You know, when they 10 minute, you're at each other's throat. Oh, you're a shill and you're a gatekeeper because you're saying this person. Oh, well, I like this person. Oh, they're a shill gatekeeper. How do you know? Oh, well, this channel did videos on them. Oh, okay. And that is where we're at. And that's why I try and say to myself and just get on with it. A fascinating topic like this, we're talking about so many topics, you know, molded into water. Me anagram water, finding it means sheep herder, you know, and are they controlling the water? Is a water human right? I saw that quote attributed. I don't know if it's 100%. So what, you know, we are always told water is life, water is memory. Did we actually need water in ancient times? I just don't know. But it's just fascinating to talk about these topics and not what need to look over your back or over your shoulder. You know what I mean? It's just weird. I've never got the community.
It is weird. It's almost like they want to be segregated on purpose. Like they want to be in their own echo chamber and people feeding them a bunch of stuff that like regurgitated information about things that they've already heard before that confirms their preconceived beliefs and their own thought forms. You know, it's almost like that's what it is, and that's what it's there to do. And nobody wants to really break outside of that box, you know, and do something um, the same but different in a way that is better. You know, it's like they want to just be in this echo chamber forever, talking to the same people over and over and over again, uh, and not furthering their knowledge or creating something different or you know, making something new. You know, that's what we need is people just making something new and thinking about other thoughts, and basically exactly like what you do, Paul. Like you create a video, you put almost everything that you could possibly think of into that video, and that's amazing. It's an amazing thing, and a lot of your stuff comes directly from your mind, and a lot of other people can't really claim that, right? Because they've heard it somewhere else, they've seen it somewhere else, and they lack a creative drive to make something new, and they just copy people over and over and over again, and it's a repackaging of something, right? It is just a repackaging of an old idea in an old thought form. It's I had Chris Allbeck on my show, and he was talking about how the excuse me, the UFO phenomenon has been, the stories have just been regurgitated over and over and over again for every single generation of people. Right? He done a bunch of research, and he's seen the same exact recurring stories from as early as the 1500s all the way up into the 20th century. They're the same things, just changed and repackaged just a little bit. He was talking about UFO crash retrievals. He was like, UFOs have been crashing for freaking thousands of years, almost. You know, and then it's just been regurgitated and repackaged for a new audience, for a new group of people. You know, and then that makes you think, well, you know, if it's just regurgitated information and repackaged information, is any of it even real?
Yeah. And that's what you've got to say about anything. Even what I find, is it any of it real? Because that makes you think. I mean, I don't know, like that video I made not long ago, you know, about the epiphany, where he had an epiphany, which is, you know, and you know, when we all write on a piece of paper, a folder, and you see, you know, you look on the next page and you can see the indentations. So, and I had an epiphany on, like, this is what this reality is. You know, the physical spell in one of the pages can go through to the next one. Now, is that ghosts? Is that things able to just, because everything's frequency based, so that energy of that spell would create an indentation in a different reality. So, you know, that's what I was just thinking about. So, you know, when we're talking about like Bigfoot or other things that's classed as cryptids, are they actually here, or they're just in a different reality? And from time to time, the indentation of the energy seeps through to this reality. You know what I mean? It's just thinking on those lines, because like you said, why don't they find X amount? You know, and it's like we're in the zoo and we're controlled. Information's controlled, and also can be influenced. Hence on YouTube, people are called influencers, because they're influencing people with whatever they are talking about. Hence us too, we're influencing people who are on the fence about something, and hearing what Ryder said or me, that could influence how they think. And that's why I've always said we have a duty of care, because there's people out there who are easily influenced, and they are basing their thought process and their start point on what someone is saying on the screen. You know, what is his agenda? What is her agenda? You know, and this is where we get the attacks on tax, because people just, you know, don't like that information because it come from a certain location. You know, so this realm of chaos, another name Janus goes by the way. You know what I mean? So it just, I just have to laugh at it, because, you know, people also try too hard to get people to see how they see. You shouldn't, because we all see uniquely. We can share a similar, you know, it's like you writing 6 on the floor and someone facing you will see 9. Or if someone was standing in the same location as you, they're seeing it a little bit different, you know. And that's what this reality is. There's X amount of information. Someone comes along, sees something different, it goes viral. But sometimes that viral information is being pushed to get people off looking at certain locations or topics. So that is why I came to the conclusion a long time ago, is treat it as just that, information. You know what I mean? Information to use, good or bad. I've seen people countless times saying, oh, I want to unlearn. I'm here to unlearn so I can download the new stuff. You know, you saw it a lot of time. Let's unlearn all the lies. No, you need to know the lies. How would you then, you know, compare it to other information? And that's why I've got to people, don't unlearn, because whatever you've used to get you to so far will help you then in the future on a total different, you know, topic. You know, just label it as information. You don't get triggered, and you can use it as, you know, if you got more information, you just totally mind wiped, and you got an information that says aliens are pink elephants, and then you base everything your reality off pink elephants. Then someone saying, "Oh God, there's elephants in the room," and you're like, "Oh, UFOs, ETs," because your mind's been wiped. You know, so you have to keep everything. Everything is information, and it's gold. It's data. You know, and data is people don't realize the importance of data. I mean, data is an anagram of da'at, which is wisdom and knowledge, and we're all a treat of Sedifot. All, you know, people like to talk about the Sedifot and all the different names. Well, that art is where they all meet and converge all that energy in one spot, and it's called the at. And you saw that meme of, we are just data on a motherboard. That's just proving my point, you know. So use information.
Isn't Dahat a secret knowledge in the Kabbalah? I think is
That's like wisdom, yeah, and Eden, and it's where it's not on a Sedifot. It's number 11 on a Sedifot. Strangely enough, or was it? Yeah, it's number 11 because I did do it. DAATs, the ATs, which anagrams to data. You know what I mean? So that is like the place all the Sedifots can join. You know, and it's roughly about here, if I remember, or the head. You know, it's in that rough region, and that's where they all converge. Now, most Sedifots will show you 10, but I think there's a few more. But that is intriguing to me because of the at being anagram into data, and you just have to type in what the anagram, the meaning of data is, and then people are thinking, well, labouring us as data. You know what I mean? It's how you just look at things differently, and some of the things you found doesn't get enough credit. Some of the things I found doesn't get enough credit, and some of them are like game changers in the sense of it could change the information. Doesn't, you know? It seems to these days that things go viral with some dude or lady sat in a car or sat behind a green screen with just a head on the screen, and it's gone super viral. It's like, well, that information I was putting out in videos 10 years ago, or, you know, something ridiculous like that. It's like, you know, it's just a funny old world.
People want simple things, Paul. Unfortunately, I mean, the 2 videos that I've had go viral were a video that I made about Jimmy Carter talking about the psychic that found the missing plane in Africa from California. And that's just old information. That was from 95, you know. And then the other one that I had go viral was the one of Buzz Aldrin and the gentleman that I had on that Buzz Aldrin punched in the face. I can't remember his name. Bart Sibrel. I made a video about that and showed him, Buzz Aldrin punching him in the face, and people loved it. They loved it. It's got like 70,000 views and like a crap ton of likes, you know. And the real information, the ones that are really important that I like a lot, that I've put a lot of work into, get like a couple hundred views. You know?
Yeah, it's always the case, isn't it? You know, it's that's why it's hard what we do, but I always pray for people to, you know, to come along and do it with us, because it's the information. We need the information. We're outnumbered. You know what I mean? And it's like what I do. You know what I do. Obviously, my core research is Janus, but I do a hell of a lot more. People talk about cymatics. I did a video on cymatics is key, because I did the etymology of cymatics and found, you know, the etymology of the word cymatics, and the first 2 letters CY came from IA, and that is Janus's oldest name. And I've been telling people Janus is the holder of the frequency keys. He's holder of the frequencies, you know. And I've just found that cymatics is named after him. Now, if some Joe who had a big channel did that, everyone would be raving about that information. But because I've done it, it's suspect. It's looked at, oh, just more Janus shit, and gets thrown away. You know what I mean? It's like the video on Vatican, showing that people say, oh, the Vatican's named after Vatican. It's not. You know, everything's connecting. And when I talk up Janus in a sense, he's a gate. You know, he was a creation. Some people want to label him as a Jesus figure. Some people don't. I leave it up to people. People always say to me, Paul, can you tell us what you believe? I say, I'll show you the information, but I like you guys to come up with your own ideas and perspectives, because I don't want me to say he is this, she is this, because it can influence you. You know what I mean? And I like to leave it up. I mean, just look at some of the biggest things that we've had happen to the human race is Apollo 11. Now, you don't need, you know, most people will say, yeah, we've not been to the moon. But if you look at it symbolically, Janus is other names. It is Apollo. I've showed you ancient books saying this. And his number is 11. And he also is the representation of the moon. It's funny that, isn't it? and he always has to come first. So like the first time they so-called went there is named after him. And when we're talking before about cymatics, etymology traces itself back to him or it. And then you have the pineal gland, religion, the churches, you know, star fort, walled cities, law, wine, everything comes back to this entity. And I was just like, any of you guys, why is no one talking about it? I mean, people talked about it for years. I ain't the first person to mention Janus on YouTube or anything like that, but not in the sense of where I've taken it. You know what I mean? I've taken it just from, you know, a ritual, and they moved the calendar and all this. It's like, well, why is no one talking about it? And I've done my best. I know I met Ryder from him seeing my things, and I don't even know where we eventually, you know, it was somewhere on social media. I think it was Facebook, and you know, he was skeptical at first, but I just show information I find. When I'm making a video, if I go down that path and I find something, it doesn't go against what the video is, I'll still include it. Or I will say, while I'm doing a video, while I was searching for this, I did find that, and it goes again. You know, you've saw it many times, Ryder, in my videos where I've, you know, because I've not jumped in head feet on one theory. You know what I mean? Because I need to know information. I like to soak it up. You know, it was so funny because when I was talking about in the video about water, and I was talking about we have to turn the tide on them, it seems ironic. And that's like the conclusion of that video was, is there an advanced race in sense of technology wise? Because anyone with advanced tech are classed as gods. And it talks about them influencing the sheep, and the etymology of water, where they came from, means sheep herder. And then you see everything in regard to they control the religions, because obviously the Vatican is the Holy See. You know what I mean? Another name Janus goes by is Saturn. Janus is the earliest indigenous. That's what I found on some books. Some books will tell you, oh, well, he was actually best friends with Saturn, and Saturn gave him his power. That's what the modern society go by. But I found loads of other information saying that Janus is and Kronos is the actual indigenous first. You know, Janus is the first. I mean, I can show you this. I mean, you know, Janus has multiple heads, and you can see it on the screen. Multiple heads. That is
Cronus, yeah.
Kronos time. Oh, it doesn't. Janus time has got a beginning. Yeah, because they're the same entity, just a different name. It's just repackaging. They have to stay as close to the truth as possible, because people like us have always been here to able to decrypt stuff, and that's what it is. Reality. You know what I mean? It's all connected. And with, you know, people talk about the Big Dipper and how it looks like a certain symbol. You know, we've all seen the Big Dipper. Now look at that shape, Ryder. Yeah. Now we're talking about water. What's the difference between that and that?
Pretty similar.
Yeah. And that's a propeller.
Yeah.
And that is supposed to be waters above, and it's just the same. I've talked about acoustics. I showed in the video about different sounds under the ocean. And then I showed you this in the video of NATO having sound in the oceans, and look what the project's called. I mean,
but you're making it up, Paul. You're making it all up.
Yeah, I'm making it all up. And that's just what gets me. This is what I find fascinating. Why is no one talking about it? You know, that's why I do it, and I do post a lot on it, but I post about other things. But it's just like, why is no one talking about this? We're talking about the pineal gland, and I told you about before. The cult name is Janus. Well, it's in the Vatican. Another name Janus is called is Ioannos Pater, Peter. father. The first pope was Peter, because that was Janus. And he was a precursor and a foundation. Books to say that. And
it's a regurgitation, Paul. People just love the regurgitation stuff. There's this guy online that's like gotten really popular now. His name's Ismael Perez, and literally all that he's done is read a bunch of books, talked to a bunch of people, and put all of the information that he's heard other people talk about, like the Urantia books, Ashiana Dean's work, and he's just combined it all together and to make it his own. And its regurgitation is something familiar that people have all heard before, but is presented as something new. That's what people. It's the same way with Hollywood, right? People, they just remake movies over and over and over and over again. They don't really do anything original. Because original isn't proven, right? They know that they're going to make money off of a remake because it has an established IP. People aren't willing to take the time and the energy and the effort to establish something new because it's really hard and it takes a lot of effort and a lot of work. They just want to regurgitate old information, regurgitate all these older stories and repackage it for somebody new, something new. When there was no evidence and no proof to even back up that original thing that's talked about.
And that's why I like doing what I do. I like to get something that's people have talked about for forever and say, why are you talking this way? It's, for instance, when people are doing the one eye symbolism and the two eye symbolism, and they're going Moloch, which is another name for Janus, by the way. And I always have to laugh because people think, Paul, you're just making this shit up. It's you know what I mean? It's like you research it, you'll find it. You know what I mean? And when I tell people that, you saw the video and we talked about it before, but this is just showing you how if you don't have another perspective and don't look at things, you can't change yourself. So when people are going about doing all these hand symbolisms, on the face like an owl, I can't do it because we'll get accused of being one of them. Even I'm showing you a point. That's how ridiculous it is. They're only showing you this. You know what I mean? It's just, if you can see it on the screen, it's just your sacred area. It's a sacred area. That's what they're doing. All these hand gestures and symbols of hands in the code, that's the vowels. That's Janus, A-E-I-O-U. There's sometimes Y. You know what I mean? That's Janus is the vowels. And it seems that, the great vow to L shift. And that's what I've talked about years ago. People are telling all these resets after this amount of years. And this amount, who defines what a reset is? Is it a specific event? I mean, you can see shit going down every year. You know what I mean? You don't need a specific time frame. You know what I mean? And I've talked about, to me, the greatest reset ever is when they changed the English language, because that's the spell. That's the heart of the spell. Doesn't matter where you live in this realm, English is generally taught because they need you to know the spells, the Anglish, the succubus, incubus language, the nightmare language. That's what it's etymologically in some regions is known as. And when we're talking about, calling people, slandering, you use your mouse or your finger, the cursor. It's a Ouija board. You're doing it on your phones. Mobile Ouija board.
And guess what they're doing with that information? They're tracking that information. They're collecting all of that information. All of the keystrokes on your cell phone is all being tracked. It's all being put into a database.
And it's made into it, like you said, data again, and a virtual image of you has been made. And they actually label it as a voodoo doll.
An AI avatar.
AI voodoo doll. Yep. In one of my oldest videos, I talk about that, the curses. You know what I mean? So that's them saying it. And that's why I say to if we are that in the community of truthers, whatever topic, should we not know better than to curse? listen, people don't get on, but if I don't get on with someone, I don't use my energy. I move on. I don't waste my energy. My energy is valuable for my family, my loved ones, and research that I love to do. If I don't, it's like if you saying to you, Ryder, what's the food that you hate the most and it really makes you ill? What is it?
The food that I hate the most?
Yeah.
I don't really hate any food. I like all food. I'm a big
It seemed
food.
like he had
food
me a pain in the ass, didn't I? Like,
Sorry.
what about a drink then? Is there something you will not drink?
I guess oats. I don't like oats. I'm
Well,
not
oats or a drink.
or cottage cheese. I don't like cottage cheese. I'll never eat cottage
Yeah,
cheese.
well, say it's like me saying to you saying, "Well, I'm just going to eat cottage cheese just out of the principle all the time, even though I hate it and I don't like the taste and it can make me ill." It's like, why would you do that to yourself? Surely your energy is best put on your family or topics that you want to do, and that's what I don't get. The community, someone has a different opinion, you get attacked from other members and other, as soon as you get a beef, someone will make a video and people follow us like idols, and we shouldn't. We're just like you. And well, they said they're a shill or a gatekeeper or this and this and this. And then the subs are attacking you. And then your subs attacking them. You're supposed to know better.
Yeah.
You know words, spells, and they have they make you ill. They etch into your bones. That's why we know English. We should know better. And I just don't get it. If you don't like someone, move on. Don't waste your energy. Don't curse because you're doing their work for them. I've just never got it. I've just, you know what I mean? There's a lot of people I don't like, but I'm not going to go into the channels and troll, get my subs to troll. You're having an opinion on it and that's it. But we should know better. We're trying to get evil, the cabal, and a better place for our kids, and we're too busy attacking each other, which is the easiest thing in the textbooks. Fighting yourself, fighting within yourself. Is divide and conquer. We're easily picked off when you're on your own. We need love, we need support, and you need a different opinion. You can disagree and still get on. You just don't, soon you go to, name calling and making videos. I mean, how many stuff have we seen that? You know what I mean? It's a crazy one. I've just not got it. And I get off on the fact that there's like-minded people do think similar to me or are open-minded to me having a different perspective. I think it's brilliant. I want to spend time with them. It's not an echo chamber because they think differently. And you can. I mean, there's loads of stuff being right I don't agree with, but we don't call each other. Well, we do call each other in other things, but not in the sense on the topics.
Yeah.
And we have to get back to that, which I don't think we will ever do, to be honest. There was a period before social media really took off. When you had old school chat rooms and you could talk for hours and people didn't have egos. YouTube wasn't as big then or wasn't a thing then. And now we've put so-called idols on pedestals and we can only talk about things that they let us talk about. We should talk about anything. It's okay to be different. You know what I mean? And we all don't get out of this realm. You know what I mean? What's your thoughts on it, Ryder? It's crazy, isn't it? This what's called the community.
I think that these trolls and these people are putting their attention in the wrong direction because there are, whether people want to believe it or not, there are paid disinformationalists.
Yeah.
There are paid misinformationalists. There are paid gatekeepers, like real gatekeepers, right, that are literally paid to put out certain information, right? And that it needs to be directed toward them, get them out of the community, not the people that are actually doing good work, that are thinking outside of the box and that are putting new things together and cultivating a new path. You're attacking the wrong people. But unfortunately, the ones that are paid to put out the mis and disinformation are the most popular people.
Yeah.
right?
Not always,
Well, yeah, a lot of this, majority of the time.
Because that's what I wanted to ask you next. I saw a post on social media, a comment, not a friend, because it was on a friend's page, and it was saying everyone who has a large number of subs on YouTube is a paid. What you were talking about. Now I can see where some are, but the odd person does work hard. I mean, what's the level? What's the number? That's what I want to know, because I've worked hard to get where I am, and I'm nowhere near some of these, but I've got a decent enough subscriber. What's the number before I get classed as a gatekeeper and a shill from working hard? You know what I mean? And that's where
people. That's where they mix it up, right? Like if you've been working hard and you've done, I've had my channel for a little over 3 years now, and
you should have more subscribers. And that's not me, because you talk to, you work. I mean, when people say you work harder than me, it's not. We don't know what each of our. I could say I work hard, and people might not last 2 minutes to do what I do because I look after my mum in a sense. But we can't compare that, because we have different levels. But you do. One of the hardest working people on here, doing shows, research, get to know the people that you have on your shows each week. And it's not, your subscriber count is not what it should be. And I've always said that to you, in private. And then, it's like, I have a bigger sub count than Ryder. It's not his fault. It's just Ryder does things, interviews and shows, and he's we're always collabing together. What how can he get his numbers up and different things? And it's not about being big head and ego. If you didn't say it's a little bit about views and subscribers when you really get into creating, you're lying.
Yeah.
But it's not the be and end all. The information is what's getting out there, but you still want to say that your content video is done well, in the sense it's watched and people are commenting and letting you know their thoughts, and it's had a lot of views, because it's like a pat on the back. It's hard work. It's so hard work. And then I thought, when I was in, I'll bang a few videos out and get a few views, that's it. It's physically draining. You know what I mean?
It is, and you basically make a small documentary every time you put out a video, and I know how hard of work that is. I mean, I just spent 3 weeks of my life creating one, and it was an hour and a half long, and you basically make one every time you put out a video. So that takes a lot of energy and a lot of effort and a lot of time to put out that stuff. Most of my time when it comes to the show is just researching the guest, finding the guest, booking the guest, getting a hold of the guest, and coming up with really good questions to ask the guest, maybe that the guest has never had asked before, and that takes a lot of time and energy. You're spending time and energy just as much, but just in a different way. Right? So,
and that's why I said to people, we need your support. You need to get Ryder's name out there. Sometimes you're on another channel, and please have his thoughts in your mind. Say to people, check out Ryder, check out me, because it's needed. It doesn't matter if you put all the effort in. Sometimes it's luck, and just one comment on a page that people look, a lot of luck, and it goes viral, would get his name, get my name out there. And that's what happens. I mean, I've not been on many shows, so I've had to do it the hard way, just by my content on word of mouth from people. I've been on the odd show compared to other people. It's like, you can't, Ryder always says, I can't find you anywhere. You know what I mean? So we need the people who, the second time out of the day, to watch our content, to pass his name on, pass our name on. That's what you need, is to get, the algorithms don't like us anyway. We have to watch what we say in half the time. And when we're doing content like this, we need the family, we need the subscribers to go on other channels and, feel like they can, say, oh guys, if everyone's talking about who to watch, and you say, go and check out Ryder from Raised by Giants, check out Paul from WhattheflockTV, and that gets you, you know, anywhere, anyone's social media. That's what we need. Because without, I've always said it, without you guys, we're just talking to a computer screen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's as simple as that. I mean, you're not. I didn't go out to do that. I just went out to get my thoughts. You know. Oh, look at this. What we're researching this week. Oh, we're researching ancient Egypt, and I get all my thoughts and I put it on the screen and I save it to my hard drive. That's what I just wanted it, and it was just lucky enough that one person watched it, and I thought, whoa, I've got one view. And my next goal was 10, and my next goal was 100, and the next it was 1,000, and then the next goals, you know, and so on. And it is addictive in a sense of, you know, you can't believe people take the time out of the day to watch you, but you want to keep going. You want to get your thoughts, your things out on specific topics, and we can't do it without you. We don't have a huge following in a sense of, you know, so you see some of these people on Twitter and TikTok and YouTube and Instagram are like 300,000 subs, and it's like your content is way better than that. And you know, it's not being egotistical, but these are getting the views, and half the times some of the I've been caught because people email me to say, Paul, they're using your information and didn't give you a shout out. You know what I mean? And that's what happens, unfortunately. But we need you guys. You know, sometimes if you're on the chat, please get Ryder's name in it, get my name in it, or any other channel like you know, have the backs, because it's hard work. We get down a lot. I do. I'm not, you know, because I'm physically drained every day with what I do. I look after my mother, so I don't have too much free time as much as I did to research. And I need you guys to have me back and, you know, recommend me, because that boosts when you get a lovely comment. You're having a bad day, it picks you up, because that's the power of the spell. We live in a realm of magic, and that's why I was talking about before, that when we're attacking someone, I mean, in a broad sense, you're attacking someone, you're using the spells. You know what I mean? We don't know what state of mind people are. This is just a facade. What with me is what you see, what you get, unfortunately. But a lot of people do have personas, masks. You don't know what they're thinking. You don't know what they're going through. You know what I mean? I lost an. I was talking to Ryder, and that person got back to me, and one of the people who, you know, I call them flockers, died. And I used to use some of his music in the odd intros. Very talented was Adam, and he's passed away. And that gets me emotional, because you form bonds. He was in the chat a few weeks ago, and you don't know scenario how he died or anything, and you need to talk and communicate. I lost one of my good friends. He's coming up to his anniversary soon, and we used to talk like Ryder every day. He died, and I'm messaging him, and you best be dead, you, because you're not getting back to me. And he was. And that's like turning heart. And you know, you form, you know, you make some brilliant friends and close friends, and also trolls. You know, you can't have one without the other, unfortunately, but you need to have people to have your back, you know. And it seems to be in agendas, you know, well, if I want to do this for you, I want this in return. What happened to being a good person? If you like the content, tell people you like it. You know what I mean? It's like this water now. We're in a pool, you know, we're surrounded by the sharks, the water, and it seems that everyone's fending for themselves instead of, you know, helping. I mean, things go viral when people help someone in the street and it gets put on TikTok. It's like, you should be doing that, because we're being engineered and turned away from helping each other, because that person's that color, that person is that sexuality, or that person's this. It's all engineered for you to hate each other. They don't want unity. And people think unity is, oh, everyone thinking the same. It's not. It's about having each other's back. And especially when you don't believe in some of the things that they do. It's what, you know, right and wrong is what you was brought up. And this community needs more people in it to have our backs, to make content different to ours, you know, making these points, and each of us being inspiration for each other. Then you find that the puzzle is easiest to see. But it's like we're locking ourselves in a cupboard. It's a bit like Schrodinger's cat, you know what I mean? You don't know if it's dead or alive until you open it. Well, that's what's happening with us. We seem to be scared to open the box and see what actually is there. But we're using information from other people who say they've opened the box. You know what I mean?
Instead of doing it themselves. Yep.
Yeah.
I agree so much, my brother. Yeah, we've been on for almost 2 hours here. I think we should wrap it up. I'm getting tired. My butt hurts. My back hurts. No, I'm just joking. But yeah, let people know where they can find you, find your YouTube channel. You just released a new video called Something in the Water, I think around 3 days ago, I believe a couple of days ago. I wanted to do this earlier, but we couldn't make it happen yesterday, so we got it out today. But let people know your YouTube channel and anywhere else you want to plug, your Instagram or your Twitter.
Yep. If you for any reason that you decided you enjoyed this, is find me on YouTube under WhatTheFlockTV. You can see it on the screen right there. It's WhatTheFlockTV. I've got that handle, so you'll go straight to me. If you're on Twitter, again, WhatTheFlockTV. Instagram, WhatTheFlockTV. And I cover so much. Yes, I do talk about Janus a lot because it's so influential, especially the last couple of years when you had a certain thing happen. The actual name for that was straight directed at him. And I cover everything. I talk about a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? And if you want something different, check me out. If not, I'll see you on my travels, and I hope the best. I mean, I don't, I just love having people who want to come on my channel, interact, to do a premiere once a week or once 2 weeks, depending on how long the videos are. And I like mixing. I like talking to people. I get a form close bond. Like I said, I met a good friend who passed away. I've lost a couple this year, unfortunately, and I met them through on my channel. You know what I mean? So just come check out. You'll enjoy it. You'll enjoy something on there. Even Ryder enjoys your thing on there. You know what I mean? But check out our channels. WhatTheFlockTV.
The link to that will be in the description of this video, and also the 11th Hour is a channel with me and Paul. We're gonna get more onto that whenever I get back from contact in the desert. I will be there this coming weekend. If anyone is in the area, wants to stop by and say hey, I will be there for the entire weekend. Check the links in the description for Paul's channel, What the Flock TV, and the 11th Hour. And thanks so much for watching and listening, everyone. Much love to everyone in the chat. Please be sure to hit the thumbs up button, help the channel in the algorithm, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon as well. And remember, we're not only in a spiritual war, but a war on humanity. Stay aware, stay alert, keep loving your heart for everyone, stay safe out there. And if you can see through the illusion, you are the solution. See you guys next time.